dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. We're continuing our conversation with Liberty Nation senior political analyst Tim Donner and Liberty Nation's national security correspondent, Mr. Dave Patterson. Now, we have talked about the current situation in Gaza, Israel, and the wider Middle East. We've talked about the future, what the peace deal means, what kind of rebuilding will take place. Now, I'd like to harken back a little bit to the olden days, when the world was black and white and dinosaurs roamed the earth. And you remember it well, Dave.
I do. As if it were yesterday.
As if it were yesterday. So we don't know entirely whether the peace deal will hold. And at time of recording, it has held currently. And so that makes me very optimistic. But things have a way of going south in the Middle East, don't they, Dave?
Yes, they do. And, you look at the past attempts at bringing a lasting peace, and for a variety of different reasons, and a lot of them have to do with the personalities involved. You had, the 1979 Camp David Accords that Jimmy Carter brokered in an attempt to bring peace to the region. It did bring a lasting peace, I might add, between Israel and Egypt, but I think the $3 billion a year to each one of them had a lot to do with that. And and then you had this really important landmark accord, the Oslo Accords, which could have brought peace back in 1993, but the PLO leader, Yasser Arafat, managed to screw that one up, and it stalled, and violence ensued in the West Bank, and it brought out the famous quotation about Yasser Arafat in that he never lost an opportunity to lose an opportunity. And I think that at each juncture in the past, there has been this optimism that the parties could come together. But as I mentioned in an earlier segment, the stars weren't aligned. You didn't have the atmosphere that you have today. And with everyone pursuing their own interests, I might add, but those interests combine to make a peace look more, the peace potential being greater today than it has been in the past.
And Tim, what's your long shot take on this?
Well, I think I was one of many who believed after the efforts of Bill Clinton in the waning days of his second term, where he threw everything into trying to get an agreement between Israel and Yasser Arafat and the Palestinians. And the reason that I lost all hope after that was because Arafat came into those negotiations with Ehud Barak, the prime minister of Israel, with a certain number of demands, which seemed to be over the top. Little did he realize that Clinton and Barak would accede to those demands and actually offer more than Arafat had even initially demanded. And Arafat, nevertheless, turned down the deal. And that said to me and most people who were observing that Yasser Arafat and the pro-Palestinian forces, shall we say, were far more interested in the issue that they could complain about to the world than they were in settling it. So after that, the position I thought was reasonable, that there's never going to be peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis, because the Palestinians don't really want it. They want to live in a place of hostility and opposition and as an enemy of Israel. So, to me, that was the last of several different opportunities for peace. It went by the wayside. It was probably the best opportunity. Bill Clinton invested all his remaining political capital in trying to get it done and wasn't able to. On top of that, let's not forget that when Jimmy Carter and the Israelis and Egyptians made that accord at Camp David, that it was only years later that Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, was assassinated. And of course, it's pretty clear that that was because he had violated the accepted norm in the Arab world, which is that you do not recognize, you do not even negotiate with Israel. So that was extremely discouraging as well. And then later, of course, came the Camp David Accord. So I have to say, I don't know what Dave thought, but I felt clearly that I would never see peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis in my lifetime. So this is a shocking turn of events, and I think made possible by four things. The Abraham Accords, for one, the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad being deposed, the neutralization or the neutering of Hezbollah by Israel, and the destruction of Iran's nuclear capabilities by the U.S., those are the stars that align together to make this historic deal possible.
Yeah, it seems that peace in this particular region, it's been the white whale of U.S. presidents for a very, very long time. And it looks like Trump may have been the one to do it. So what white whales does this leave going forward in just our last 30 seconds? Dave?
The good news is that the person who is pushing this is the amazingly strong personality of Donald Trump, and the person who is least likely to, who's most likely to stand in the way, is a weak Mahmoud Abbas. And so Trump will be overpowering in that one-on-one, but Abbas is going to be important, and so he's got to come along. But the challenge is to start and have a structured, disciplined way of bringing the Gaza Strip back to life.
Dave Patterson and Tim Donner, thank you both very much for being here.
Thank you, Mark.
And that's all we have time for on this week's edition of Liberty Nation Radio. I've been your host, Mark Angelides. I'd like to thank our guests, Tim Donner and Dave Patterson. Of course, thank you, the listeners at home, for taking the time each week to tune in and join us. Please remember, Liberty Nation does not endorse campaigns, candidates, nor legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.